I am the oldest of my biological brothers and sisters. Um,
How
so
many?
it was it's two of us. So my parents raised two of us. I was blessed and fortunate to have both of my parents together. Um, when I grew up in Denver, Colorado, that's
Denver.
where I
Okay.
have my other siblings. So it's a large number of of us, and if you use that group, me and the oldest 29, it's like a group of 31 of us.
Wait, hold on. Wait, how many? How many?
We're all 5 years apart.
How
29.
many
It's 31 of us together that are like God
siblings?
brothers and
Wait,
sisters
all
that
my
kind of
siblings?
help, huh? That are
Wait.
God brothers and sisters that were kind of, raised together,
Oh,
help each
woo,
other out.
okay.
So
Lord,
yeah.
okay, you gotta go
So
tell
it's a
you gotta hear
large group.
Isaiah. Oh
Large group.
goodness.
So
Okay. Oh, okay. But
a
how many?
lot of
Okay, let's
siblings.
say.
But um so like if you count I still talk to quite a few of them. You count my god siblings and stuff like that, and your play cousins, it's a
You
large
play
number.
cousins, yes,
But my
yes.
parents
I
had
love the
two.
community. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents had two. So um
Yes. Hmm.
so I was, was blessed to where I could have, even though I was the oldest in my household, I had older people I could, go to get guidance from, and they like picking on me a
What?
lot.
They picked on you? Why?
So because see, I was the baby with them, so it's like
Okay.
it was mixed. So it's like I'm the oldest in my household, but when I get to be with the other kids, I'm the baby. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah, it's like a
I got
different
stories
ball
for
game.
days for that. But my parents, before we got to Denver is home and where most of my upbringing is from. My dad worked um, a government job that required him to travel a lot. So we went from one city to another city. So most of my formative years, I never was at a school. So although my parents weren't part of the military, it was like being part of the military because
It was
they
right.
moved, we moved. So one year I was in this school, another year I was in this school, I was in this state, that state, but Denver was home. That's where we settled for majority of my say upper elementary and middle school years. And so
Okay. And we'll
with
get right in. We're gonna
that,
get into all of that in a little bit, but I just want to get more into the childhood because we don't, because I like to dig. I like to pick. I gotta pick on people,
mhm,
in a good way though. When it
yeah,
comes to childhood, 'cause like I said, I try to dig up memories. Like, what cartoons did you enjoy? Did you have to share the TV? Did you have to ration out the food? Did you have to put your name on stuff? I mean, did your parents have to make sure that you ration out stuff? Like, don't you touch this and this. You only get one of that. Did you have bunk beds? Palace on the floor. Like, give me some memories. Give me some games you used to play. Did you play Trouble or Sorry or
Nintendo.
Monopoly? Nintendo.
Monopoly's
I
my
mean, that's what
favorite.
I'm talking about. Kim, come
Yeah,
on now.
Monopoly is a
Come
favorite
on.
board game. Played Sorry, Nintendo, Sega. I
Yes.
got a Sega Genesis.
Yes.
Um, Definitely had bunk beds. Me and my biological brother, we're about 6 years apart, so we shared beds at times when he got older. Um, but you know, as far as much as I had a lot of people around, I was also sheltered. So my
Mm,
parents, to a point, because there were times when it was just my mom in the house, so I wasn't always in the streets. But when I
mm-hmm.
was, I had fun and got to do a lot of things. And it was just her. We more or less chilled in the house because she didn't want me to
Yeah,
be.
she's protective.
Yeah, she was very protective. So I had that kind of upbringing. I was kind of a nerd coming up, so I was very much into my studies, reading books. I love to read at an early
Okay,
age.
makes sense.
By the time
Mm-hmm.
I was 10, I was reading Elin Harris and Terry
Mm,
McMillan and all the books
mm.
I wasn't supposed to be reading. So I could
So why were
not
you
only
reading
read the
them? And
books,
let me
huh?
ask you this. Let me pause right quick, Isaiah, because I'm wondering, even though, because we all had, we all was exposed to adult content, including porn, but we snuck in, we snuck and watched it. That's what we kids do. But I want to know at that age, you reading Terry McMillan in Elin Harris. Um, I mean, I know there's a lot of content you didn't probably understand at the time, but we understood more than you think. But I want to know if you can remember what are some of the content you understood from those books. Did you understand any of it at that? I'm talking about in the 10-year-old's mind.
Yeah, to a point, because when Terry McMillan's Waiting to Exhale came out, I'm
Mm-hmm.
old enough to remember that there were a lot of reading groups, a lot of discussions. You used to hear
Mm-hmm.
about different women. Every time you was like, if I was in a library or in a bookstore, it was nothing to see a bunch of, and it was mainly women, but there were some men there, but it was nothing to see a bunch of women getting around talking about Savannah, talking about Gloria and Bernadette and some of the other
Bernadine. Yeah.
characters. Bernadine, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other characters, and because I also was reading Ebony and Jet magazines, and
Right.
eventually reading the Source magazine and Vibe. So I was, catching up on a lot of that. I remember the television shows were like, I remember Waiting to Exhale being the phenom, and
Yes.
then, in that era also makes me like a different world, baby. You've seen a lot of different, um, I'm trying to get this right. There were a lot. I remember the show having a lot of different black intellectuals and black authors,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
variety of them throughout on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw those those people, and it was like every time in that era in time, it seemed like every time Eric Jerome Dickey had a book come out, everybody ran and got it. It was like the black community, one of us got published by a major, everybody made sure that you went out and got that person's book. Omar Tyree had a book, everybody went and got their books. And I feel bad because I don't remember everybody's names, but I think Shaneska Jackson was another, Benita Little, um, April Sinclair, read all of those books. My mom would
Mm-hmm.
get the books, the library would get the books. A lot of times she'd get the book, she'd come in by 5, I'd have the whole book read by 9. And could
Wow.
tell her about it.
And that's the thing. So let me go back to that Waiting to Exhale when you read it like at 10 years old. What I want to know is at that 10-year-old mind, what did you receive from that book at that time? What did you understand from how did you interpret that book at that time? That's what I want to get to.
Um, for me, it I don't want to say it was scary, but it was almost like you've seen relationships differently because on television you saw like the Huxtables or the Winslows. They had a
Mm-hmm.
two-parent household. Both men and women were successful, but you already saw relationships that were already formed together. Here, with them, I learned about the different problems with relationships and how different people went through different aspects. Like I hadn't really heard of divorce or seen
Mm-hmm.
divorce until I read Waiting to Exhale. And then to see what people do in divorce. And that made me feel like, if I get married, I definitely don't want to get divorced. I don't want no one burning up my clothes and trying to torch up my cars or whatever. Um, I think from with Gloria, I learned to appreciate just being able to. I'm trying to get this right because it's been a long time since I read the book. But I remember Gloria was more about self esteem and accepting yourself for who you are because
Mm-hmm.
I remember her talking about her weight in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's. I wouldn't say that's part of the reason why I like big girls growing up, but it was more like you saw them more as, when you're young and at our age and you're watching music videos or seeing people online, you're seeing one type of woman, but
Mm-hmm.
Gloria presented another type of woman that became beautiful to me too. And it was like,
Right.
and when I met people who were more aligned with her physical aesthetic, that made me, because I think it made me want to get to know them more as a person and not see women as, superficial or women as objects and stuff like that. Of course, my god sisters helped me with that part of it too.
Right. Right.
But in reading that book, that really kind of clicked in my mind. That was what was most uh,
Okay.
memorable for me
Yes.
at that age. Would
Okay.
be,
And so before we and shout out to Ron Rebel in the building. Thank you for being here.
hey,
Yeah.
what's up, man?
Yeah. Yeah, and so I also want to understand also um, in comparison to how you viewed it then. I want you to kind of get into how you view it now in regards into the characters, because I know back in the day I was in high school when I read it, and then
Hmm.
when the movie came out, oh man, it was,
Oh, I
the
remember
men
them.
were mad. The men were mad. There's this male
Hmm.
passion, and why y'all make men to look
Hmm.
that way, and women don't take responsibility for their own actions and their choices, and which I could kind of factor in both sides, right? I'm a Libra like that, so I can factor
Right.
in both sides of the fence. So I get it. So can you give me more of what your understanding is as an adult?
I think as an adult, definitely appreciate Laura's character more as an adult because then it's like you remember. I remember her interactions with um, her son, and her thinking about her son while dating and being with the man that she ended up being with. I think when you compare the movie to the book, I don't remember because like I said, it's been a while since I've read the book, so I want no one
Yeah, I
try
know.
to
Me
chop
too.
me up.
Yeah, yeah,
But
right.
I didn't know or don't remember in the book the man that Robin had, the first one, being a full figured male as well. But
It
seeing it
was.
in the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
it kind of made you think about other people because yeah, it's supposed to be a funny comedic scene, but it
It
was like
was. That's one of my favorite parts of the
I
movie, by the way.
always
But yeah.
I always thought, well, these are different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as I got older, it was like there are things about Savannah I liked and didn't like. There was things about all of them I liked and didn't like, but it made me also look at okay, how did they get this way? How did they,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, where did they go from here,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
what are they doing with their lives from this moment? And then too, it was more of a because I'm old enough to remember where you didn't have a whole lot of like how you can go anywhere now and see a black television show, black movie, black art. In the '90s, it was more, I wouldn't say more special. We appreciated it more because it wasn't always that opportunity. So it was like every time there was a black show or a black book out, it was a major event.
Yes, it was. You read
So
it. You're right.
we
Yeah.
had that, so it made
Mm-hmm.
me look at and appreciate different perspectives differently. So
Okay. Yes. Yes. And yeah. Thank you for that perspective. Because I always want to try to compare and contrast. When it comes to how you interpret things. Younger and as you get older. Because now that we're grown, yeah, there's a lot of things that we look at differently, as you should. So
right.
I'm glad that you're able to share that perspective. So now we're going to transition into elementary, junior high school. Isaiah, I would love to hear the elementary, junior high school phases in life because we don't talk about it much because we don't understand how pivotal that is. We don't understand how much self discovery that comes into going through that phase in our lives. And so I love to hear if you can remember the experiences that you had in elementary, junior high school. Let me just lay out the groundwork. Like were you a popular kid, shy kid? How were your academics? Did you look up to certain teachers? And how did you develop your social skills? Helping in the staircase, acne, puberty, testosterone levels, like going every which way. So I just want to get more into that experience with you, elementary and junior high.
Okay. With elementary school, I moved around a lot, but once we got to the school
Mm-hmm.
that I was in Denver, it was like I got to experience being the new kid, and it was almost like the stereotypical experience you saw on
Mm,
television where he was always picked on. I came up during the you know in the early '90s, and in the West Coast, we had the big gang situation. So,
mm,
you had a lot going on with we had both the Blood and Crip situation, and then the KKK was really big back there too, because
mm,
they used to have Klan rallies on Martin Luther
mm.
King's,
Because I was going to
King's
ask,
birthday.
I was just about to ask you how was what was Denver like for you. So thank you for
Yeah,
showing me.
so they
But,
had that. Um, back when I was in school, you went to school on snow days. Snow
yes.
3, 2, 3. The only time we missed school
Mm-hmm.
was if the power was out, the ice was too bad, or if it was over like
Yes.
4.5 feet
Mm-hmm.
of snow. Any
Mm-hmm.
other time, you went to school.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes we walked to school, sometimes we ran the bus. So, the interstates were almost like, and it's still like that now because I've been to Colorado recently, being on Chambers and 6th Avenue was like running across the interstate. So,
Mm.
you're trying to run across and you're not at the crosswalk and stuff. You're running across the street. So, I've, at times when the game's really bad, you're running from bullets. Or when the games weren't so
Whoa.
bad, you're trying not to get
Mm.
hit by the car. So that was a real reality for us. I was blessed enough that, in my immediate household, it was provided for real well. But when I went to visit my cousins or spent time with them or spent time with my god brothers and sisters, I saw and identify with having to fight roaches for my food because here I am supposed to have my
Yes.
plate and I'm flicking the roaches off because I'm like, no, you can't have my food. It's supposed to
Right.
be
Don't
me.
like what you think
So
this is.
so it's
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
had both experiences,
Mm-hmm.
um, with that coming up. I was a hustler when I was young. I was selling candy at 10. So, and I was hiding the fact that I was selling. So the difference
I
between
was
me and
hoping
one
that
of
you
my
clipped the hustler
books.
part like hustler.
So yeah, so the difference between
Hustler.
me and one of my
You.
characters in my book is that Martin got to ask for permission. His parents said, "Yeah, I was selling candy because I saw the drug dealers have money, the gangsters have money. Um, your non two parent households having money was such a big deal, and I was good at sales back then, better than
You
I
seem like the
am
type.
now.
You
So
seem like the type. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
supply and demand. So you can't get air. I'm old enough to remember when Airheads wasn't sold in the store. You can't get
Ah.
Airheads. I can get Airheads. Here we go.
Yeah,
Cool.
you got
We
you had to
sold
hook up.
Kool-Aid mixes, all that.
Yes,
So I was the
yes.
candy. So I was the nerd. I had the ability to sell candy. It brought the attention because a lot of the gang members in my area, they were like, well, he can sell candy. What else can he do? And that was what I
Mm,
was
mm.
interested in. And that's kind of like how me and my god brothers and sisters got together because we didn't want to be in the gangs. So we were kind of like a group, for ourselves because I didn't want to, even though I may have had morning, good afternoon rather. I may have had different exposures for that. I also knew that wasn't what I wanted because education had been ingrained in me. Mom's whole thing
Yes.
once you're going
Mm-hmm.
to college, that's non-negotiable. Then I saw a different world and was like, well, not only am I going to a college, I'm definitely going to somebody's HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know it would be A&T at the time, but I'm going to somebody's HBCU. And that was important because like a lot of the television shows and even the books I read, I always read about educated black men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was a big fan of Walter Mosley back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always reading while selling books, while being in school, while being, having all these different influences. Reading allowed me to, escape some of those things. But I'm also a child in the hood, or hood
Mm-hmm.
adjacent. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting into fights like the rest of them. I'm
What?
playing soccer because I'm from the West
Mm-hmm.
Coast. We really. I'm not gonna say there was no football teams, but a lot of the kids in my area was a part of like a organized team. So we did like street soccer and street basketball, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
soccer and hockey got mixed up. We played hockey so we could fight. It was not so we could
Oh
um,
my, not the
learn the
sport.
fundamentals of the game. It was like you had beef with somebody. Okay, let's go play hockey. You on that team. You
That's
on this
interesting.
team, and
You
yeah.
battle out that way.
So
Some
we
people have
figured out.
break dance and you had hockey. Okay, okay,
So we
right.
definitely, did it that way.
Oh,
But
okay.
as I got to middle school, I was still, even though I hung around like I wouldn't say I was the popular kid per se. Um, we hang around a rough crowd because one thing a lot of my friends groups in that time had in common was we had older brothers, older cousins, um, parents. Some of them had parents that were heavy in the drug game or Bloods or Crips. So a lot of my family members that were, I didn't have a lot of family members in the game, but the few that were Bloods.
Mm,
So it was like a big secret.
mm,
So not without saying names, without saying
mhm.
names.
Right, right.
It was a
Gotcha.
secret. And
Right.
and that was one of the reasons that with my god siblings, some of them knew who I was really connected to and some didn't. So it was like we kept each other's secrets. to,
Got you. Is it
so
cold?
so
Yeah, you
we
follow cold.
definitely, yeah, so we
Hmm.
definitely had that. But I didn't miss out on, your regular boy upbringing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
definitely a lot of music, a lot of television shows, a lot of, if I watched Living Single in Martin,
Hmm.
um, it was definitely a lot of watching those. Like if all of the black show was on, we watched it in my house because
Yes.
my mom's thing, especially, was buy black, support black. That was something my family was into because my aunt owned a very popular, well respected restaurant in Denver.
Mm.
And, we listened to the black radio station, KDKO. We supported like a lot of, I want to say there was an arts festival in Denver around the time I was that age too. So we did a lot of, it was ingrained in me early on that you supported other black entrepreneurs. So, going to the candy lady or buying different
Yeah.
things from the barber shop,
Hmm.
all that was me. And I think that's where my part of the reason I wanted to do more like self-publishing ended up becoming an affinity for me because I wanted to
Wonderful.
own a record label like Suge Knight,
Mm.
but I got into publishing because I could write.
Okay,
So
we'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that. I just want to make sure that I have some type of chronological. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I got you saying.
Of the timeline.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? you know, because but thank you for certain that stuff because I'm really enjoying what you're sharing with me. So that's why I'm just kind of absorbing everything. So I appreciate that. And so now in regards to because I know you just really as you dropping the names of the authors that inspire you, you're dropping a lot of these shows that we are privy to classic shows and
mhm.
and I'm glad that you're able to pull from those inspirations. So it's very important that I'm glad that you've actually shared that because it's so very important that we get to know you know who shows you're standing on. So I'm glad that you're able to put all those in as perspective. But before we get into high school, is anything else you want to share in regards to junior high?
I would say that's probably when I first started writing because
Okay.
sixth grade was
Hmm.
um, very rough to some extent, but seventh grade was where
Why was it
I got
rough?
into sports, huh?
Why was it
The,
rough?
the gangs, the shootings, the fighting for. We didn't want to become gangs, so we fought the Crips at my school. So yeah,
Yeah.
we did
Wow.
not want
Mm-mm.
to. We didn't,
No, we don't want to account to those. Mm-mm.
it was like join or die, and we chose to fight, so we wasn't doing that, and we ended up.
I'm glad you fought. You brave. Yeah, that's real brave of you.
Thank you. And by
Yes.
the time we got to seventh grade was almost like a therapeutic year because it was like the teachers knew kind of what was going on. So it's like a lot of the kids that were on my team, we were put on this team to in part explore our artistic side because the sixth
Yes.
grade teachers discovered what each of us could do a little bit here
Oh, I'm
and
glad
there.
somebody did.
But
Okay.
the
I was.
seventh grade
Hmm.
teachers really nurtured
Hmm.
that. And that's where the writing, my friends made me get up and rap. 'Cause, back then it was like everybody wanted to rap or do basketball, and I was good at writing people's. I just wanted to write other people's raps. I did not
Oh,
want to be on
you a
stage.
ghostwriter?
Yeah, so that's how I got into
What?
ghostwriting. They tricked me. So I was supposed to be helping them write the raps. Then I ended up writing the raps. Then I ended up being on stage with them. So I
Let me
got to
see. You remember something?
perform. But
You remember a rap? You can give a snippet. What you remember? You
no,
remember? You remember
no,
anything?
I don't want to embarrass nobody.
No, I mean, come on, especially back then.
I don't
I
remember.
need
I
some
mean,
of that
we did
nostalgia.
more. We did a lot of educational raps. Like we talked a lot
Okay,
about
even better.
different people that I do remember. I don't remember how it went, but
Come on, tell her. Let
we
me know.
did we did rap. I did a rap on Huey P. Newton because I was a real big Black Panther fan. Bobby Seale and Eldridge
Yes,
Cleaver.
absolutely. So can you give
So
us some? Give us some of that.
definitely
Come on now. I know you could pull. You could you could judge up something. Come on. Let's go.
no. I'm I'm sorry. I can tell you we tried to make it work though. I mean, we rapped over crisscross beats just like we rapped over
Oh, really?
Dr. Dre's beats and DJ Quick's beats and E40 and Too
Oh,
Short. So we
oh.
listened to them on the West Coast. So That one instrumental that's on the Straight Outta Compton album definitely got played a lot. Um, so we did a lot of that, and then different R&B groups had come out. So TLC, we took the remixes to Creep and rapped over
Oh,
them. So I
okay,
could tell you
okay.
what we did. I don't remember
You
any
you
exact
remember
rhymes
actually?
and stuff,
Okay,
but I
I'll
think what we
spare you.
did.
I'll spare you, Isaiah. I'll
Like,
spare you.
but yeah, we took those, any of those. Like we bought the singles to get the
Yes,
instrumentals to rap
yes,
over. So while
yes.
you had like your different rhyme circles and stuff like that, that's what we used that for. So even if it was like a little slow jam, we'd find a way to rap over that. We listened to a lot of, because Video Soul, and I can't remember
Mm,
all the BET music shows that were out, but we listened to a lot of reggae. So on
yeah.
my playlist for my latest book, everybody's like, how you get all that reggae? Well, you have to remember, I grew up in the 90s and we grew up
Yes, yes,
on
we had.
reggae
That's
was
when you had a
catchy.
lot of different. Yeah, it was a lot, so much diversity. That's what I miss about BET. There was a Caribbean
Mhm.
show. What was it Caribbean Soul? Yeah, but
I
it was
can't.
a
It might have
Caribbean
been that because I did.
videos.
I meant to look that up when I was writing the book, but I got so into writing that book,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
mean,
until I didn't.
I missed the days, Isaiah. But see, now you got me going because now it was like it was Video Soul. I think, like I said, I think it was Caribbean Soul or Caribbean. It was Caribbean
Hmm.
something. We had Midnight
Yeah,
Love late at night. We had Cedar.
yeah.
Center,
I remember
I
her.
mean, 106 in Park. It was just a time, Isaiah. So yeah, I see now you
Yeah,
bring it
and then we
you're bringing me back. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we had, because you remember we had AM rest, or at least in Denver, you had your pop station. It was KS 104 at the time, but now it's KS 107. They were more pop, but they played a lot of the popular R&B and rap songs. Of course, Snoop got played on there, Dre got played on there. And then when you got to KDKO, like many black urban stations at the time, that was more of your community station. So you got community news plus your traditional R&B, jazz, like every black genre almost had a segment.
Yes,
Like I'm used to hearing
yes.
blues, so BB King and Bobby Blue
Hmm.
Band. Then
Love
you
it,
had gospel
love
on
it.
Sundays and the
They
different
had that too.
hours.
There was a gospel. Lift every voice. Thank you. Okay. Yep.
Yes. And then we
Hmm.
had the illegal stations, and every now and then the illegal station would pop up, and everybody, it's
Yeah.
kind of like a secret. Everybody knew where everyone, you never knew what dial was going to be on that day. But if you heard Too Short on the radio, you knew you was at the right place. If you heard DJ Quick on the radio, you knew you was in the right place. So you could listen to your gangster rap on the radio too, and uncensored. But then you also had your news and
Uncensored.
talk.
Yes. Hmm.
So they would balance it
Yes.
out. Like they would slip in, like, after they fed you that, you had to listen to um whatever Malcolm X recordings or Louis Farrakhan
Mm.
recordings. So the different illegal stations that would play rap would also feed you like messages from the Nation of Islam or other community messages. That's kind of how they got away with it. So, not snitch and telling, but that's how
No, no, I get.
you got
Yeah.
it. That's how you
Yes.
got it in.
Yes, you got
So
it in. Yes, we got it all the way in. That's why I
that
said,
was important.
yeah, and just like, I appreciate that. That's something I just really appreciate, being a part of that time too, growing up in that time.